Hi guys, it's Alfie back again with another video. So we've got a special guest once again. Hopefully no technical difficulties. I'm sure there won't be. We've got the Mighty Blues Cam. How you doing? So pleased to have you back on.
Thanks for having me on, mate. Absolutely made up to be on. Loved it last time. I'm all good, all good. Can't complain. Getting a plodding along. The Toffees got 3 points the other night, which was massively important. Another difficult game on Thursday that we're gonna discuss. But I'm all good in regards to the technical difficulties. If the audio sounds a bit wrong, it's because I'm
No,
using
it's
the
all
audio.
good.
I'm using it through the webcam rather than the mic because I really don't think the mic likes StreamYard for some reason. I don't know why. So hopefully everything's all good and stays all
Boss.
good for the entirety. But I'm good, mate. How are you?
I'm doing boss me with the Everton wins. Then just saw the news that's been coming out really, hasn't it?
Yeah, it's been.
So we'll talk about the Southampton game right now. So it was a 1-0 win. Yes, you'd take them 1-0 wins and take the 3 points any
Absolutely.
day. But it was
Absolutely.
very scrappy at the end, wasn't it? So,
Yeah, absolutely.
how would you sum up that performance the other night?
I think performance-wise, it wasn't great, but again, we had this is an Everton side that haven't won a home game at Goodison Park since December. Certainly a Premier League home game at Goodison Park. I know we beat Spurs in the cup, but I think the Arsenal game was the last Premier League game we won at Goodison, and it was no coincidence that was the last game that we had fans in the stadium. So I think as much as I would have liked us to turn up and beat Southampton 4 or 5-0 and absolutely wipe the floor with them, and they are really poor at the moment. They've got very little quality going forward. And the one thing that surprised me most with Southampton is until about the last 5 or 10 minutes, they didn't seem to have any belief in themselves. I mean, for the entirety of the game, from the 9th minute, it was 1-0. It wasn't like we were winning 4 or 5-0 and it was completely out of reach. But as soon as it went 1-0, they just seemed to lose all belief in themselves until the last 5 minutes when they had a couple of opportunities, which I'm sure we'll talk about. But no, I think when you've gone so long without a Premier League win at Goodison, and when it's quite evident that the home form this season has been the issue, I think you take any sort of 3 points, be it a scrappy 3 points, be it a dominant performance, and it wasn't a dominant performance. It was a difficult game to watch, and it was a difficult game to I'm sure for the players to go through as well. But I said this in one of our streams a couple of days ago. Last week we sat here last week and spoke about the Derby win, and we spoke about the Luca Dean news and the stadium news, and we spoke about how big last week was for Everton Football Club. And I think last week was massive in the history of Everton Football Club, and I think we'll all sit down in years to come and go, remember that week when we beat Liverpool at Anfield and the stadium was approved and Luca Dean signed the new contract. It was a massive week for the football club, but this week for me is a bigger week in terms of the context of this season. Last week was massive for the future and for in the next 5 or 6 years, but this week is much bigger for the context of this season. We had the Southampton game, which was a game we absolutely had to be winning. They haven't won in 8 games or something. We got the 3 points there. We've got West Brom tomorrow night, which is going to be extremely difficult because we know the manager we're coming up against and how he sets up, and the fact that if anything he'll just set up to frustrate Everton to get one back because he seems to think he was treated poorly here. And then we've got Chelsea at the weekend. If we win tomorrow, we go into the top 4 before anybody plays, and Liverpool and Chelsea play each other tomorrow night, and obviously they're two sides that are in and around us. So another massive game tomorrow, massive game. But in terms of the Southampton game, look, I was just happy to get the 3 points, mate, to be honest with you. It wasn't the greatest game, but I'd take a boring, scrappy, falling asleep 1-0 rather than a massively entertaining 2-2 or lose 2-1. I've said this all along. I don't understand this whole and it doesn't come from football fans of clubs. It comes from football fans of other clubs watching your club, and it's this: but you don't play boring football. Don't hold out on a 1-0 win. Make it entertaining. And it's all this: I pay £80 a month for my Sky Pass. I should be entertained. No, I don't care. If you're a neutral, I don't care how bored you were the other night watching Everton. I really couldn't care less, and I don't care how bored I was because we won. If we wouldn't have won, we'd all be sitting here going, that was boring, and we didn't even win, but we won. So if you win every game like that, you win the league. So it's a win, and that's all that matters, isn't it, mate?
Well said, Cam. My thoughts were it was scrappy at the end. Obviously, Everton had a total of 7 shots. Southampton had 9 shots, which surprised me. But them shots will probably be at the end of the game. I thought Pickford, one of the save he pulled off at the end.
Absolutely, mate.
I thought he'd saved us in the game in a way, because if that was Olsen, I know we've been saying it against that Leeds where Olsen saved that, triple save or something, and Pickford wouldn't have done that. But that was Olsen. I don't know what would have happened then. Like you say, 1-0, that's all that matters, getting the 3 points and move on to a West Brom side. They are struggling, but the type of football they play, it'll be very difficult, like you say.
Yeah.
So, if it's a massive if, I don't think he'll rest Decore, but if Decore is rested and if Tom Davies is back, who would you play, Tom Davies or Andre, after that performance from Andre?
It's difficult. I've had this conundrum going through my head for the last sort of 24 hours or so, trying to pick my predicted start 11. And, you know, I really want to see Josh King playing in this game. And I suppose it all depends on Carlo Ancelotti's press conference in a couple of hours. And he might come out and say, I am resting the corner. He might come out and say, I'm not. But the midfield is a tricky one because, you know, you look at how well Richarlison's been playing as a striker, for example, 2 goals in the opening 10 minutes of the last 2 games, both of them coming from balls being played in behind the defender. And he just, Liverpool's defence couldn't cope with him. Southampton's defence couldn't cope with him, just showing exactly what he can do as a centre forward. But in terms of the midfield, it's a difficult choice. I don't think Alan will play. I think Alan will be rested. Obviously, played 90 minutes the other day, coming back from what was a difficult injury. He'd been out for 2 or 3 months or so. Again, Decore does need a rest, and he is going to need a rest at some point. I mean, the lad's engine is unbelievable, and he can run for what seems hours and hours and hours. But again, Carlo might look at it and go, "Well, West Brom, we might necessarily be needing to do a lot of running. We've got Chelsea on Monday night, which is a massive game, so we'll need you fit for that." In terms of Gomez and Sigurdsson, I think they both sort of sit in a similar position of which that, you know, they've both been good recently. And I was watching just to shout out another Everton YouTube channel, because why not? We support each other. I was watching the Blue Rooms Instant Match Reaction, and Mark Mosley was on it, and he spoke about Sigurdsson, and he said, I think if we start to look at Gylfi Sigurdsson as more a number 10 rather than a number 6, because there has been times this season where Carlo has played him in that number 6, Alan, Tom Davis role, and if he's playing there, he can't do it. He can't do it whatsoever because he's not a defender. But when he's playing in the 10, he's creating opportunities. And Mark said, you know, if you've got a player, if there's one Everton player that you want, other than James Rodriguez, who's standing with the ball at his feet with runners in front of him and 10 yards of space, you want it to be Gylfi Sigurdsson, because he almost certainly finds that runner with the ball, and he did that the other night against Southampton. It was a great pass to Richarlison. So I think Sigurdsson and Gomez sort of sit in the same bracket, is that you probably both need to rest themselves. Gomez was exceptional the other night. Back to the Andre Gomez of the 18-19 season when he signed on loan. But I suppose Carlo Ancelotti's going to have to look at this and think how this game is going to play out. You know, Everton have typically been better this season. I think it's fair to say, when teams have come at us and that we haven't had much of the ball. I mean, I don't even know the possession stats for the derby, but I can imagine we may be just about to have more than 20%. Leicester away was very similar. Chelsea at home was very similar. In these games where we're the better team, where we're the team that are expected to come out, we haven't necessarily done very well doing that. You know, that was the expectation against Fulham. They completely wiped the floor with us. Same with Newcastle. One game I would say impressed me was the Leeds game away, where we were expected to come out, and we did in the first half. We come out and we attacked, and that was an Everton that I hadn't seen since the first couple of games of the season. But I suppose Carlo's going to have to look at it and decide, you know, who he needs in that midfield. Will there be a lot of chasing the ball? Probably not. So maybe Andre Gomez will be in there because he's very good at keeping hold of the ball and shielding it and moving it forward. And we're not going to be on the back foot in this game. But like I said, this is a difficult one for me. This isn't as easy as maybe some people think it. Some people might think and look at it and go, oh, it's West Brom. They haven't won in however long. Well, obviously they beat Brighton the other day, but they haven't won many games this season. They struggled to keep leads, this, that and the other. But, you know, West Brom are the team. Sam Allardyce is going to be a manager who's going to ultimately say to his side, look, just sit back and frustrate, sit back and let them have the ball. And we're a team that, you know, the best performances we've put in this season and the best games we've played, other than that spell at the start of the season, we haven't been the team with the ball. So we need to find that form that we had when we beat West Brom at Goodison, when we beat Brighton at Goodison, where we're used to having the ball and we're coming forward and we're attacking. And that's why I think James will play in this game, because he was pivotal in those games at the start of the season when we were needing to create and when we had a lot of the ball. I think you might see Richarlison as a more of a central role again, with Dominic Calvert-Lewin up next to him. But in terms of the midfield, mate, I don't know, to be honest with you. It seems it's good, isn't it? It's good because ultimately Carlo Ancelotti's looking at this and he's now got Andre Gomez, who was brilliant the other night, and it'd be very, very difficult to take him out after that performance. You've got Gylfi Sigurdsson, who, make of him what you will, and whether we like him or not, he assisted the goal, which is a fantastic assist. You've got Tom Davies, who, barring missing out the other night through injury, has been absolutely unbelievable in the last 6 or 7 weeks or so. You've got Abdoulaye Doucouré, whose engine is just, Abdoulaye Doucouré, I don't think had a great game the other night. He gave the ball away on a number of occasions, but almost certainly after he gives the ball away, he wins it back.
Game, if I'm being honest with you, I think he's starting to feel like he's tiring down because has he played every game of the season? Every
game bar one. He was suspended for, I can't remember, was it Leicester away or Leicester at home, and we won 1-1. He was suspended for one of them, but every other game he's played.
It's madness. So talking about James, then, if he's fit, would you start James in the number 10 role or on the right, or would you play Siggy and bring on James?
See, I'd start James. I would start James because I think James is had that rest now. I know Carlo said he picked up a little injury, and again, I suppose this all depends on Carlo's press conference in a couple of hours or so as to decide whether or not he might come out and say James still isn't fit. But I would start him because as much as I think Gylfi Sigurdsson is the closest to James in terms of that creativity, and look, I want to give Gylfi Sigurdsson credit. I think he's got 14, maybe 15 goal contributions this season. He scored the penalty at Anfield. Sorry about that. He scored the penalty at Anfield, so he goes down in my estimations as an Everton hero just for scoring a penalty in a winning game at Anfield. But I think when you compare him to James, I've just said, other than James, you wouldn't want any Everton player with the ball with space in front of them. He's very, very good. Gylfi Sigurdsson at doing that, but James, I think, is a level above. I think James finds passes when he's under pressure as well. I think James finds ways out of space. James doesn't necessarily need the 10 or 15 yards in front of him. He can do it when he's got players crowding around him. So I would start James because I think this game could be tighter than people think. I think this game could lie on 1 or 2 goals, and then 1 or 2 goals could be through a James Rodriguez piece of magic. We might be sitting here on Friday morning or Friday afternoon saying, thank God James was there to play that ball into Richarlison, because that was the only goal of the game, and it was boring for the rest of it because they just defended. So I would start James. In regards to the number 10, again, it's very, very difficult because I want to see James playing in the number 10 because that's his natural position, playing through the middle, and ultimately he moves into the number 10 anyway, even when he's playing centre midfield. But then
or right mid. Does what he wants, don't he?
That's it. I think I'd rather see him right. It's difficult. I'd rather see him right mid for this game because I want to see Richarlison and Dom playing as a striking partnership. And if you put James in the 10, then you're sort of then relying on that front three with a left wing, a right wing, and a striker, and that would then mean Richarlison has moved to the left wing. And I think Richie could do a job at the left wing because I think at the moment he's full of confidence, and I don't necessarily think it's specific to his position as to when he doesn't play well. I don't think it's always playing on the left, so he's not playing well. I just think he went through a bad run of confidence and form at the start of the season. I think you can put Richie at left wing and he could have a brilliant game, but he's looked very, 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 very good in front of goal as a striker this season. So I want to see him and Dominic Calvert-Lewin playing up front. And like I said, this could be a game of fine margins. I mean, if we go out and get 2 goals in the opening 10 minutes, then it could open up and we could see 4 or 5 like we did at the start of the season. But we're going to have to defend against 11 men from the first whistle. So, I'd play James. I think his creativity could be the difference maker. In terms of where I'd play him, I'd probably play him on the right so you can accommodate for Richarlison and Dom up front.
We've got to play Richie up top no matter what, though. He scored like 5 and 5, 3 and 3, hasn't he? So he's just got to start, because if you play him on the wing, I don't think Dom had. Yes, Dom did chase the balls. I thought he was in the game, but I don't think it was his best performance. So if you play Richie on the wing and if you play DCL up top, obviously, I don't think we'll do well, in my opinion. Because DCL had that support from Richie then.
Yeah, no, I agree. And they both combined for the goal. Ultimately, Dom wins the header, initial header, and then wins the shoulder, gets it to Sigurdsson, and Sigurdsson plays it into Richie, who obviously scores. And again, 2 very, very similar goals. The goal against Southampton and the goal against Liverpool are pretty much other than the round and the keeper, they're pretty much carbon copies. Sigurdsson's
The through ball.
Exactly, the through ball from Hammers for the Derby goal, the through ball from Sigurdsson for the Southampton goal. Richie gets onto it in between the two defenders and, slots it first time against Alisson, which is a great finish. Takes it round Fraser Forster and slots it, which is a great finish again. So, that's, again, we've scored 3 goals in our last 2 games. One of them was a penalty, and 2 of them have been pretty much the exact same goal as be it Sigurdsson or Hammers picking that ball up in space, putting it into space, and Richarlison playing in between the 2 centre forwards. And I know Dom didn't start the derby, so he wasn't on the pitch at that time. But again, we started the other night and he was on the pitch at the time when Richie come in between and Dom was maybe moved to the right hand side a little bit. So I think that's what you get with Richie more so. Listen, I love Dominic Calvert-Lewin. I think he's unbelievable, and I think that lad could go on to be one of the best strikers in football. But he's still got bits to learn, and for me, listen, when he come into Everton, he had loads to learn, and he's learned pretty much everything since then. The heading ability is unbelievable. He had that Salisu on toast. He didn't want to be anywhere near that pitch yesterday. On Monday night. Hence why he was throwing himself on the floor, holding his head, because he didn't want to be anywhere near Dom, because Dom was just winning the battle constantly. And obviously he's getting in the right places in front of goal. But I still don't necessarily think Dominic Calvert-Lewin is that striker that's going to come in between defenders like we've seen Richarlison do and slot it. He seems to be the one that's maybe creating that opportunity. And look, in years to come, he'll learn how to do that. He'll learn to be the player that runs onto the ball into space. But at the moment, that's Richarlison. And, West Brom will leave space in behind and will leave space for us to run onto. And like I said, it's a difficult one to look at this game, because at the start of the season, we beat them 5-2 and the scoring goals seem to be like playing your local five-a-side with your mates. It was just, we were scoring constantly. It was comfortable. And I think if we get a couple in the opening 10 minutes, then that might be the same. They might be forced to come out at us and we might just constantly hit them on the break. But I just think it'll be tighter. I just think they'll sit back 11 men and it'll be one of those games, maybe similar to Sheffield United. I think actually, if I was to compare it to any game in recent years, it probably what I think it'll go like will probably be Burnley. Carlo Ancelotti's first game in charge, I think on it wasn't Boxing Day, it was the week after Boxing Day in 2019, where we played Burnley and they just defended, and we had chance after chance after chance, and I think Dom scored. Yeah, I think Dom scored in the 83rd minute or something, a diving header, and that was the winner. But it was frustrating because they just defended. I think this might be a similar sort of. It might play out in a similar sort of way tomorrow night.
Don't get me wrong, we can't underestimate the opponents in the Premier League, because you all know what could happen with Everton. Like Tom says here, it's terrible, but it's Everton. Bill Kenwright says, but we could go 1-0 down, for instance. I'm not trying to be negative, but Faye scored in the first goal, but all of a sudden Faye wants the second one, but we counter-attacked them. We got 3 goals, and then I think Faye got one back straight after the second half, or was it? Right
in the second half it was. They had a sending off, obviously, didn't we? We made it 2-1, Hammers made it 2-1, then they got a red card. Then they pulled it back, I think, to 2-2. I think literally about 10 seconds into the second half, and then we ran away with it then. So if we can play like we did in that game, where we step it up a level. Listen, I think Everton on Monday night played in second gear, maybe even first gear for a large part of the game. I think, in the derby we played in fifth gear, but we were playing a different style. If we can play the style of Leeds at home, or even Monday night, but in fourth or fifth gear, then I think we can wipe the floor with West Brom. But look at the teams that West Brom have taken points off this season. Manchester City, I know that wasn't under Sam Allardyce, but it's still the same group of players. Liverpool, he took points off as well. So these West Brom are a side that, when it comes to the big games and the games against the teams that are challenging at the top, they do very, very well in taking points off them. So that's why I'm not sitting here going, this is going to be dead easy, because ultimately, everything is set up here for a fantastic night for Everton. We play at 6 o'clock, which means if we win, we go into the top 4. Liverpool play Chelsea at 8 o'clock. So one of those teams at least is guaranteed to drop points. Hopefully both of them. Hopefully it's a draw. So we'll stick in and around those 2 teams. We'll go above West Ham because we play before them. I still think West Ham will drop points this season. I think they'll have a bad run of form. So again, and obviously we're playing. Leicester as well, yeah. Leicester have got unbelievable amounts of injuries at the moment, so I think they could drop. And we're playing away from home, which we've been excellent in this season, and we're playing one of the worst teams in the league. So it's all set up for Everton to go out and win and be in an unbelievable position. But we know that's not how it works in football. That's not how it works. And Sam Allardyce will know that, by the way. And Sam Allardyce will play on that. Let's not get it twisted. Sam Allardyce won't be there going, right, lads, this is just another game, this, that, and the other we go on with. Sam Allardyce will be there thinking, I need to get one back at Everton. They done me dirty when I finished eighth. I was their best manager ever. And he'll be saying to their players, look, these have got a chance to go in the top 4 here. These have got a chance to get one up on the teams around them. Go and stop that. And again, listen, I'll just, if you were to say to me now, Cam, you take the 3 points, but we're not going to tell you how the game plays out. Obviously, everybody would take it. I know it's a stupid scenario. Everybody would take it, but I'd take a scrappy 1-0 off the back of someone's bottom in the last minute. I really would, because it's all about at this point in the season, it's just about winning games and
consistency. This is what we need, like you're saying. We need consistency, like Leicester. Leicester's been great at consistency, especially City. We need to be like Leicester, because we haven't got beat by Leicester this season. We won it and we drew.
Yeah.
Do you think we've got a better squad than Leicester?
I certainly think at the moment we have, because they've got about 15 players injured. But again, it's a difficult one, this, for me. It really, really is a difficult one, because I always say this: football is a sport for fans who like to contradict themselves. We all sit here week on, week out and contradict ourselves. One week a player will be excellent, the next week he'll be awful. One week our squad will be good enough, the next week it won't be. And that's why it's difficult for me, because I've sat here after the Newcastle game, I sat here after the Man United game and said we just haven't got a big enough and a good enough squad to challenge for the European competition. And then I sat here after the derby and I basically said we're going to win the league, we're going to win everything with the best team ever. But that's what emotion does to you. I was thinking about this yesterday. I had this question in my live stream about, because I said I don't think, I said, what, sorry, I've got about 16 sentences going on in my head. I basically said, if we're to finish in a European competition, be it the Champions League or the Europa League, either one, I want it to be a guarantee, and it's never a guarantee, but I want it to be a guarantee that we could do well in that competition and the Premier League. I don't want to be going through another season where we're absolutely bossing Europe, but we finish 15th in the Premier League because our form just goes out the window, or we're absolutely bossing the Premier League, but we lose every group game and go out. I don't want, it's pointless losing every group game.
That was the Martinez era, wasn't it? Because
and
the quarterfinals, didn't we?
Yeah, but we were awful in the league, and Koeman done it as well. We stayed up in the league and in a roundabout, but we were awful in the Europa League. We got knocked out in the group stage. We lost at Limassol. We conceded 5 at home to Limassol. So I want it to be that if we finish in a European competition, be it the Europa League, the Champions League, we can be competitive in both. I'm not saying we're going to go and win the Premier, we're going to go and win that competition, but I want to be competitive in both competitions, in both areas. And somebody made a fantastic point saying, well, the squad at the moment mightn't necessarily be good enough to be competitive in the Champions League and the Premier League, but if we finish in the Champions League, you've got Everton with a new stadium on the horizon, with Carlo Ancelotti, who has missed the Champions League managing the side, and you've finished in the Champions League. What's stopping players coming to Everton then? Because
we've got the summer coming up. Don't forget.
That's what I'm saying. That's what I'm saying. Because it's always been, but top class players want European football. Top class players want the Champions League. So if we finish in the Champions League, then we've got so much attraction for those top class players. We've got Carlo Ancelotti, who's won it 3 times. He's one of the best managers in ever to have played in the Champions League. Like I said, missed the Champions League himself. Will be in the Champions League. So then the squad will not naturally, but the squad will improve itself, because players, top class players will go, well, I'll go and join Everton then, because they've had an unbelievable season. They've finished in the Champions League. They're in Europe and they've got Carlo Ancelotti. So again, I think if we do finish in the Champions League, listen, if you were to say now, right, Everton finish top 4, but don't make a signing in the summer, I wouldn't be very confident going into next season, because I don't think this current squad is good enough to challenge in the Champions League and the Premier League, and I don't think Leicester's is as well. But if you were to say, right, Everton finish in the Champions League, I'd be confident that we'll make 4 or 5 fantastic signings that improve our squad massively. But in terms of just Leicester and Everton, I think we have got a better squad than them. I do. I maybe think they've got more match winners than we have at the moment. And look, we've got match winners. We've got Hammers, we've got Richarlison, we've got Dom, but they've got Jamie Vardy, who's won, unbelievable amount of matches since he's been there. Harvey Barnes, who's a match winner. Maddison, Tielemans. I think they've got more match winners than we have. But overall squad, I think ours is probably better. But look, again, it's the beauty about finishing in a European position is that opens the door for a lot more players, and a lot more players will want to come and sign for Everton. So it's a massive summer basically, mate. It's whatever happens at the end of the season. This summer is bigger than last summer, and last summer was unbelievably massive. This summer is gigantic because last summer the expectation was very much just improve the squad, just do better than you did last season. We're now, I think, 6 points away from last season's target with 12 games to go or something like that. We've closed a 50-point gap on Liverpool. We're 2 points away from the Champions League places with the game in hand, and we play before everybody else tomorrow night. So we've improved massively from last season anyway. This summer is the now kick on to go and be a European, not even a European team challenging for Europe, a team challenging in Europe. So it's massive, but listen, it's exciting, but it all starts tomorrow, doesn't it? If we can't get the 3 points against West Brom, then does anybody realistically think we should be finishing in the Champions League place?
Not realistic, is it? But
that's it.
A fella said on my watch-along game, the Southampton game, this game could show us if we're getting Champions League football or European football. And I quite agree in a way, but in a way, it's a bit too early to say, in my opinion.
Yeah.
Because you've still got loads of games to play, haven't you?
Yeah. Yeah. Well, don't get me wrong. I think if we lost tomorrow, we could still finish in the Champions League. We could still finish in the Europa League place because the season's up in the air and anybody can lose to anybody. So I don't think it's typically if we lose tomorrow, that'll be it. And one reason I don't think that is because Everton typically this season haven't gone on a bad run of form. We had a bad run of form, obviously, after the Southampton game. We lost a couple on the bounce. But since then, we've been inconsistent in that we've lost games. Newcastle twice. Fulham, West Ham, but after those losses, we haven't gone on a bad run of form. Then we lost to Fulham, we turned up, we beat Anfield, we lost to West Ham, we came back, we lost to West Ham, we beat Wolves, I think the week after, we lost to Newcastle, I think we beat Leeds the week after that. So since that bad run of form in October, November, we've lost games, lost silly games, but we haven't really gone on a bad run of form. So I don't think mathematically it's all over if we lose tomorrow, but I think in terms of, I understand what he's saying in terms of if we can't go out and beat a West Brom team. Look at City yesterday, for example. Man City, I don't think Wolves had the ball in their box for 60, 70 minutes. Wolves scored with 20 minutes to go. All he had to do was hold on, and Man City looked like they'd gone from lying back in the chair like that to just going, we'll sit up a little bit here and we'll focus a little bit. It was like going from gear 1 to gear 2 for Man City. And I said, as soon as Wolves scored, I said to me dad, this is ending about 4 or 5-1 here, because they'll just turn it up a level like they did against Everton. All they done against Everton was we can beat it for 45 minutes. They come out in that second half and went, oh, just do a bit more, lads. And they just went, yeah, go on, we'll do a bit more then. And once City do a bit more, they run away with it. And they did yesterday. They ran away with it completely. And like I said, I think if we're wanting to, not just aspirations to finish in the top 4, but if we're wanting to be seen as a challenger, you have to beat West Brom away. Even as difficult as it'll be, as much as they'll defend and as frustrating as it'll be, you have to go out and beat teams like that, even if it is a scrappy 1-0 win. And if it's a scrappy 1-0 win, we'll all be sitting here going, it was a difficult game and you take a 1-0 win. If it's 5-0, 6-0, boss, great. After we haven't beaten anybody like that since West Brom or since Brighton at the start of the season. So absolutely brilliant. But it's all about the 3 points for me. And at this point in the season, it's about winning games. And like I said, I don't think it'll be mathematically out the equation. It won't be. And I wouldn't put it past us still finishing in a European position if we lose tomorrow. But in terms of seeing, basically in terms of the expectation is we should be beating West Brom. Certainly given our away record this season. I mean, it's been absolutely excellent, hasn't it?
Yeah, definitely. But like I said, in the Liverpool game, I know the Liverpool lineup wasn't great, but we done the job. We beat them 2-0, surprisingly. Yeah. Well, it wasn't surprisingly, because this is what I said to everyone in my watch-along. Carlo has always got a plan A, B, or C.
Absolutely.
Klopp only goes with one plan.
Yeah.
So whatever Carlo's gonna line up, we need to trust him, because he's always got plans and it seems to work. Yes, most of the time it works, but the likes of Fulham game, I don't think we shouldn't have brought Tom Davies off in that Fulham game, because I think it just made us worse.
Yeah, I agree absolutely. I think, look, Carlo's made some questionable decisions this season in terms of team selection, in terms of substitutions, and you know, we're all able to call Carlo Ancelotti out, as good as he is and as big as he is and as much of an enigma as he is. We're all capable of saying, you got that wrong there, that substitution was wrong, I can, that you know, that decision was wrong, that bit of team use was wrong. But we all sat here at whatever time it was, 4:30 before the Merseyside derby, and said that team's wrong, that team's awful, they're going to demolish us, and they didn't. And look at the results we've had this season. Leicester away was an excellent performance and an excellent result. Liverpool away, we don't need to talk about how important that was. Tottenham away at the start of the season, we hadn't beaten them in over a decade. You know, the only games that we've lost this season to better teams really have been the United game and the City game. And I think United and City are a level above everybody really. I think City are there as in unbelievable. 21 games on the run or something.
We given City a game now, if I'm being honest.
We did. I
know it wasn't our strongest lineup, and yes, we did win without our strongest lineup. But if you look on it in hindsight, Pickford did have a boss game until that third goal, which was debatable. But we would have lost anyway. But we put up a fight.
Yeah, we did. We battled them. Yeah, we did. We battled them for 45 minutes, and we've shown that we can keep up with the Manchester City side. I just think that the thing that let us down was, like I said, when they step it up a level, I just think their fitness shows through. I think they, like the Mahrez goal, exactly like the Wolves game, like the Mahrez goal, it's just that quality just breathes through. And that's what I was saying after the City game is, we don't seem to have as good as James Rodriguez is, and as much as he's done it on a couple of occasions this season, we don't seem to have a player that in every single game where you pin back, you know, someone's going to pick it up and hit it from 30 yards and it's going in. You know, okay, James has done it and he's excellent, and I'm not saying I want more from, but I want more from everybody. But we don't seem to have, like, the way the City have got 4 or 5 of them players. If that wasn't Mahrez curling it in, it might have been Sterling, it might have been Gabriel Jesus, it might have been Bernardo Silva, it could have been Gundogan, it could have been anyone. There's got about 6-7 players there who you think, like, they could have scored that goal, whereas we've got James and maybe Sigurdsson 2 years ago. That's it really. Richarlison maybe on occasion, but doesn't do it anywhere near enough as we would like. But like I said, most of the games we've lost this season, other than United and City, which I think are the only 2 games we can all sit here and say, yeah, we were beaten by the better side. Fulham, not a chance we should have lost that. Newcastle twice, not a chance. Leeds, not a chance. Southampton at home, not a chance. West Ham.
That game was awful.
Frustrating, awful. So there's 6 games that we've lost. I think we've lost 8 or 9 or something this season. So taking away the 2 teams that are at the top of the table that are better than us, there's 6 games that we should be doing a lot better in. We should be winning, if not taking points off. Certainly, you know, okay, discount West Ham because they're on good form, if we're being nice to them, and discount Southampton because they were on good form at the start of the season. Yeah. You've still got Leeds at home, Newcastle twice, and Fulham, which is there's not one excuse as to why we shouldn't have been winning those games. So it's that inconsistency, like you mentioned before, Alfie, you're spot on, that inconsistency that has hindered us this season. And I said in the review to the Southampton game, that type of game would be the game that we sit here at the end of the season and go, if only we'd have beaten Southampton at home when they were in bad form, we could have finished in the Champions League. Well, we did beat them at home. And this West Brom game is the exact same. We don't want to be sitting here at the end of the season going, how didn't we beat West Brom away when we've been so good away and they've been awful? Yeah. We want to be sitting here saying, we've won the game. That's it. But no, I agree. Look, it's going to be, it will be difficult, but we have to go out ultimately and show why we are a team challenge. Because West Brom are challenging for the Champions League, are they? We're apparently challenging for the Champions League, so let's go out and show it.
Prove it. Let's prove the haters wrong and all the pundits, because I tell you what, some of the pundits, we don't even get respect in my opinion.
No. Did you hear the Sky Sports commentators when Richarlison scored? The ball literally hit the back of the net, and he said, oh, that's not a great start for Southampton. I thought, are you mad? The lad's literally just rounded the keeper, buried it. You haven't even said his name. You've just mentioned about how bad of a start it is for Southampton. And then he gets volleyed everywhere, and they're saying, oh, he doesn't half scream, he doesn't half go down dive, and he doesn't half make the most of it. Do me a favour, mate. The lad,
it's like the Liverpool game. It's like the Liverpool wins. or tell you what, it's windy in Liverpool, but for playing on the same pitch.
Exactly. And I challenge any opposition fan who might be watching this. And all of these opposition fans like to tweet about Richarlison, and let's not get it twisted. They only do it for one reason, and that's because they think he's going to reply. Because he does. He winds people up. He searches his name. He replies, and it's dead funny because he usually replies pictures of him scoring. It's boss. It's unbelievable, mate. But now what you're getting is these fame hunting football fans who are now tweeting, oh, Richarlison, I can't wait for us to go through Richarlison, in the hope that he sees it and replies so they can go, wait, I got a reply from him. And then I guarantee the message underneath will be, holy messing, mate, I think you're dead good. Nice one for replying, this, that, and the other. But like I said,
he gets under the skin, doesn't he? Which I love.
Yeah, he does. He does. He's boss.
Jamie Vardy, not on social media in a way, but you know how Jamie Vardy turns.
Yeah, he's a wind up. He is. He's a wind up, and like I said, the goal the other day was excellent. But the amount of times that he gets thingied for screaming and for shouting, and I challenge any opposition football fan, any Liverpool fan, find me one occasion in which Richarlison's dived. Has he maybe gone over and screamed a little bit exaggeratingly? Yeah, he has. So does every football player to win a free kick. If you can find me one clip of Richarlison physically diving without having contact made to him, then I'll shake your hand, because there isn't one. Because every time he goes down, be it he screams, be it he throws his hands in the floor, he's either kicked or touched, and yes, it mightn't be the biggest amount of contact and he might make the most of it, but that Southampton game, he was being kicked everywhere. I said on the instant match reaction, I don't know who it was, Lenny says in the comments Rob Hawthorne, it might have been Rob Hawthorne, but there was a certain challenge where Richarlison just got absolutely clattered into, and one of the co-commentators said, he doesn't half scream, he doesn't half make the most of it. And I said, let's stand, whoever that co-commentator is, on a football field and allow a fully grown man to go through him at pace and challenge him, and let's see if he screams, because I guarantee he will, because it bloody hurts when a full grown man does that, I'm telling you. But there's an agenda against Richarlison, it's absolutely clear, but as long as he keeps proving them wrong, mate, that's all that matters, isn't it?
But apparently there was snipers at Anfield and all of Salah.
Yeah, well, that doesn't get mentioned, that gets swept under the carpet, doesn't it?
Exactly.
Did you see in the derby?
So many times, Annie, though I'm not trying to be biased, but it's the slightest touch as he goes down, little pull of the shirt, or it's the same every week, mate. And Salah and Mane must have done about 7 between them on Saturday before Jamie Carragher under his breath went, that's a dive from Salah. Just dead under his breath, dead quiet. That's a dive from Salah. Just as if if that's Richarlison, I've never seen someone dive so much in my entire life. But look, have your agendas. As long as Richarlison keeps turning up and proving you wrong, as long as Richarlison is putting pictures on Twitter winding people up, that means he's playing well, and that means Everton are winning games, and that's all that matters to me. But I quite like going off the subject, obviously. We'll get into more of the lineup in a sec, but after, I think we were playing against, I think it was the Southampton game, or someone else was playing, but Jamie Carragher was in the studio. He was analysing Richarlison's and Carlo's approach to the game, and he was giving up positive thoughts.
Yeah, I think. Go on, mate. Go on. Sorry.
It's like Steve McManaman, and he's a commentator, but them type of negative. You know what I mean?
I don't think Jamie Carragher's that bad in terms of. I think when he's commentating and he's in the emotion of the game, certainly when Liverpool are involved, I think he can be very, very, very bitter. We've seen it in the first derby when he mentioned about Richarlison diving loads of times. We've seen it in the last derby with the penalty situation. That's not a penalty. I think in the emotion of things, Jamie Carragher can be as biased as anybody. But when he's usually in the studio and he's not commentating on the game and he's had an hour or maybe even a couple of days to sit down and dissect what's happened, I think genuinely he does. He's made some good points. He did. Yeah, he did. He made that little presentation where he was talking about Carlo and the way in which we beat Liverpool. I think was spot on. I think he had a couple of really good points in there about Everton and the way in which we play. And I think he was quite complimentary. And Jamie Carragher typically is complimentary, like I said, when he's not on match day commentary and he's not got the emotion of the game. When he's got the emotion of the game, same with Steve McManaman, sometimes you're hearing him and you think, how can you put somebody so biased in front of a microphone and have them broadcasted on live television on a programme that's meant to be unbiased? But that's why I don't mind Jamie Carragher as much as the rest, because I think when he's not in a match day scenario and he's sat in the studio after it, he does tend to make a couple of good points because the emotion's obviously not in there, and he thinks so. I think he sort of thinks, hang on, this is my job. I've got to be complimentary to teams that are doing well. Whereas some other pundits, Graham Souness, for example, you wouldn't get a compliment out of him if you paid him, mate.
Against that Villa game 7-2, the grass was too long for you.
Exactly, he's like Ty from Arsenal Fan TV, but only he gets paid millions of pounds a year to do it. He's just one biased, bitter man. That's why I was made up when Joleon Lescott was just laughing at him the other day, just absolutely laughing at him, because I thought, it's right, Joleon. Now, I'm not the biggest fan of Joleon Lescott either for the way he left Everton, but I just thought, get it.
Yeah, boss. So we'll go into the live comments before we'll wrap up with the lineup. I'll put you on the spot, Cameron, so I hope you'll have your lineup.
Yeah, I'm all good, mate.
Predictions, yeah?
Yeah, Sam, right, absolutely Sam. Yeah, all brilliant.
Harvey Simpson, yo, what's up, Harvey? Billy says, all right, lads, I'm doing
right, Bill.
Billy. Everton Blues 1878 says, all right, lads, in the West Brom game, would you rather, if you had to choose Pickford's mistake or Godfrey own goal? I think he asked me something like that before in the Southampton game, and I said the Pickford mistake because we've seen it so often, and yes, he would have been slated, but in another way, you don't want Pickford's confidence to go back down.
Yeah. I look, that's a horrible. That's like choosing between your mum and your dad, isn't it? It's a tough question, but I'd say a Godfrey mistake or Godfrey on goal, because I think Ben Godfrey would be more capable of just shrugging it off and getting on with it. And I think Ben Godfrey, 5 minutes later, would be absolutely fine. I don't think he's a player that seems like he'd lose confidence very easily. I think he's a player that would look, own goals happen to the best of defenders. He's also I don't know whether he's his agent, or I know he's very, very close to Rio Ferdinand, who scored a plethora of own goals in his career. He did an
interview with him the other day with Mason Holgate.
Yeah, I know Rio Ferdinand's Mason Holgate's agent. I think he's got a relationship with Ben Godfrey in some form as well. I don't know whether it's professional or it's just friendship, but again, Rio Ferdinand is a defender who scored a lot of own goals in his career, but also was an exceptional defender. So I think Ben Godfrey would be able to shrug it off and just move on straight away, where I think a Pickford mistake might knock that confidence that you've quite rightly said has been excellent recently.
Defo, because we don't want to be dropping any more points, do we, Cam?
Yeah, exactly.
Every game is big for us from now on. Exactly. These are Premier League sides. Like I said, we can't be overconfident, but we can't be like negative at the same time, Jacob. So yeah. Lewis CFC says hello, lads. Hello, Lewis. Jacob says Pickford end 2 points at the end, definitely.
Absolutely.
Billy said Alan was class against Southampton considering he came back from injury. He had like 13 ball recoveries, didn't he?
Like, he was.
After brilliant. 3 months, like that stats, it's absolute boss.
He was.
Lewis AFC says, yeah, I could see Alan or Decore being rested, but one has to start. I think Alan's got to start over Decore because Alan needs more game time from now after his horrific injury, which kept him out for like 3 months. And Decore's played nearly every game, hasn't he? So it's got to be Alan, because I've seen Decore recently. I think he's slowing down, Not going to lie, like, I know we had a week's rest for the Southampton game, but I just think, do you agree with that, Cam?
I think it'll basically be Alan that's taken out. I agree with what you're saying. I think Decore needs a rest, and I think Alan needs more game time. But I just think
because of box to box, so he can go.
I just think Carlo will more look at it and protect Alan. To be honest, I think he'll look at it and go, "Look, you were excellent the other night. You were brilliant for 90 minutes. You were strong. You kept us in the game. You've done everything well, and we need you for Chelsea at the weekend." So I think Carlo will look at it and go, "What we don't want is Alan to play against a poor side and pick up another knock and then be out for what is a very, very difficult game away from home on Monday night." So I think I agree with what you're saying. I think Decore needs the rest and Alan needs the game time. But I think Carlo will look at it and go, right, we'll take Alan out for this one. Maybe he'll come off the bench for the last 20 minutes. Maybe he'll start and then be taken off instead. Listen, it's
because nigh on attacking as much as us. Don't get that scripted. So
I agree, and it's nigh on impossible to ultimately to guess which midfield Carlo would go for. You've got Alan Davis if he's back, Gomez, Sigurdsson, and Decore there, who 5 players to play in 2 positions, who could potentially play there. So it's very difficult. But I just think he'll take Alan out because obviously if the Chelsea game coming up, because he's only just come back from injury and because he played 90 minutes.
I forgot about the Chelsea game on the Monday. It's so close and all. It's like 4 days apart, isn't it?
Yeah,
so,
yeah.
I do agree what you're saying there. Ben says we're going to lose. So
positive attitude.
Not like I said, don't be thinking like that, lads. I know Tom said here, but it's Everton. But you know, Tom says here, this is a West Brom team that drew to United, Liverpool, City this season. Let's not underestimate them. But I know it's a different manager. But remember that 3-3 thriller at the start of the season with Chelsea?
Yeah, absolutely. I think, like we said before, West Brom have taken points off some really good teams this season. City, not many teams will take points off City this season, and I know it was under Slaven Bilic, but it's like I said, it's the same group of players. Not many teams will take points off Manchester City. United, who you know, we see in first hand, are very good as well. Liverpool, who they haven't been brilliant, but certainly at that time they weren't. I think that was their first game in the bad run of form. They were doing okay before then. So listen, we have to be wary of West Brom. We do, and ultimately they will come and sit and defend, and we have to be able to play against that. And we haven't really shown an awful lot this season that we can play against teams like that.
Defo, yeah. Alfie says, as soon as we get a chance to get top 4, we bottle it. Let's hope that is not the case. Exactly, Alfie. And hopefully, imagine we get a cup run in the Champions League. If we get into the Champions League and we get these type of players, Max Adams, I know there was a debate on Kieran's live stream, which Cam sorted it all out with, which is absolute boss, by the way, because everyone was all positive and when you came, which we appreciate. So hopefully we'll get those type of players. Yes, it depends what will happen, but I know you will have to go soon, Cam, but I'll get your line up and then we'll just finish with a couple more comments.
Yeah, no worries. Do you want me to go straight into it, do you?
Yeah, go ahead.
I've gone for Pickford in goal. Again, completely agree with everybody saying he was the match winner the other day. Him and Richarlison won us that game single-handedly. And, you know, I know Vestergaard is a centre-half and he was pretty much on the floor before he took the shot, but if Pickford wasn't there, it goes in. It's an unbelievable save. I don't think it's had enough credit. So I've gone for Pickford in goal. Again, a couple of decent games, and hopefully he can continue that confidence. I've gone with the back line of Mason Holgate, Ben Godfrey, Michael Keane and Luca Dean. I wouldn't be surprised if Seamus Coleman was in there, to be honest, if he's recovered from injury. Like I said, we'll hear from Carlo in about an hour or so regarding that. Obviously, Ben Godfrey and Michael Keane, I think, were very good the other night. Didn't really have an awful lot to do, but were typically solid for the entirety of the game. Luca Dean at left back is pretty self-explanatory. Don't think Yerry Wiener's going to be back for this one. I think he's still probably about a week or so away. And then the midfield, I've gone for sort of a 4-4-2-ish formation. Now, again, like I said before, it's nigh on impossible to predict what Carlo Ancelotti will go with, what players he'll go with, what formation he'll go with. I've gone for James on the right. I just think his quality will be massively needed. I think he could be the difference maker on tomorrow night. You know, we've seen he was the difference maker in the home fixture when he scored that second goal. Also got Kieran Gibbs sent off with a little bit of snide play, which I think was brilliant as well. So I've gone with James coming back in on the right. I've actually gone with the midfield pairing of Abdoulaye Doucouré and Tom Davies. Now, this might be very, very harsh on Sigurdsson and Gomez. Not so much Alan, like I said. I think Alan will be taken out to be rested. I wouldn't be surprised if he wasn't, because he does need game time, but I think he'll be more focused on the Chelsea game for Alan. But look, it could be anywhere, any one of Davies if he's fit, Doucouré, Gomez, Sigurdsson. We've just spoke about the need for Doucouré to be taken out and rested, which I think is massive. He ultimately he's played every game this season bar one, and that was because he was suspended, so he will need a rest. But I just think it won't be this game. I think he's got the legs in the midfield. I think we may be reliant on those legs. We may be reliant on that energy at times, certainly if West Brom break and find an opportunity to try and grab a goal. I've gone with Davies next to him. I think Tom Davies has been excellent recently. Obviously, he missed out against Southampton due to an injury. But I think, ultimately, if he's fit, I think he deserves to be back in there. Again, harsh on Gomez, and maybe Gomez would suit this game because he's not going to have a lot of pressure on him off the ball. He'll have time to sort of hold the ball up, I think, and play it out and use his body. So I wouldn't be surprised if Gomez starts. Sigurdsson again, potentially, but it's sort of difficult having Sigurdsson and Hammers in the same team because I sort of think they do a very, very similar job, but it wouldn't surprise me if he was in there. I've actually gone for Josh King on the left-hand side, and this was a decision I made yesterday because I don't think Josh King is benefiting from having 10 or 15 minutes at the end of games. It's extremely difficult for any player to change a game having coming on with 5 or 10 minutes to go when the game's pretty much, over. And the decision, the game's played out as it's played out. I think we've brought Josh King in, obviously, to improve the squad and to add that, little something different. And don't get me wrong, I think that's still what he's doing. And I think Carlo Ancelotti had put him in there if he had to put him in there in terms of injuries and stuff. But listen, for me, I want to see him from the start. Yeah. I want to see him given a 90 minutes. I want to see what he can do because ultimately, for me, there's no point in having Josh King here on a 6-month contract. And between the moment he signed and the end of the season, just playing 5 or 10 minutes at the end of every game, and then leaving in the summer and not signing on a permanent. I certainly think if we're going to sign him on a longer term deal, which has been the rumours over the last day or so, then I think he needs to be playing from the off, and he needs to be given an extensive amount of time to play to prove himself. And why not in this game? He's got the pace, he's got the energy, he can beat a man, and he could be a difference maker in this one as well. And then I've gone with Richarlison and Dominic Calvert-Lewin up front. Badly want to see Richarlison up front. Badly, again, 2 fantastic goals early on in both of the last 2 games from a centre forward position. I think he's been excellent, and I think Dom, I think he'll be excited for the goal as well. Again, I think he played really well the other night. Wasn't massively in the game in terms of in front of goal, but worked really hard, dominant in the air, big presence. So for me, I think the pair of them will be up front, unless Carlo maybe looks at it and goes, right, we'll take Dom out as well because he's only just come back from injury, and obviously we want him fit for the Chelsea game. He might look at Richarlison and say, right, you're getting a rest. It's difficult to predict, isn't it, mate? It really is. Yeah. But that's personally the side I'd like to see.
Defo, I quite agree with you with that starting lineup because we'll get into one more thing before we finish up. Like Josh King, he might be getting a permanent deal with Everton, won't he? I know he's only played couple of 10, 20 minutes for Everton, hasn't he? He scored that goal, but it was offside against Fulham. Would you see him on a permanent then?
It's difficult. I'd like to see him on a permanent because I think he offers something different, and I think he'd be a good squad player to have, certainly if we're playing in Europe. But I want to see him more. I don't want to see him. Not that I wouldn't accept seeing him on a permanent off of the last few games or so, because I would. Because I just think, like I said, he brings something different. But I wouldn't be completely convinced in bringing a player in on a permanent deal who's been here for 6 months and only come on in 5 or 10 minutes at the end of games and not really done much. I want to see him given a couple of games. I want to see him playing from the off. I want to see what he can do. Because typically, I always say this about players. Typically, it takes players 5 or 10 minutes to go into a game. Alex Iwobi's the prime example. We used to bring Alex Iwobi on with 5 or 10 minutes to go, and he wouldn't do much. And we used to say, he doesn't do anything off the bench. He's not effective enough. And that's because Alex Iwobi is a player who needs 5 or 10 minutes to grow into a game. And by the time he's had that, the game's over. And then we've seen it, early on in the season, Alex Iwobi was given time to start games, and we've seen his quality and what he can bring. And, his goal against Wolves was exceptional. So I'd like to see Josh King from the start, or at least from 50, 60 minutes in, where he's got an extended period of time to change a game. But I'd just like to see him starting for me, and I think this game tomorrow is a perfect chance to do that.
We'll go into the last comment, which Lewis wants us to read out, which is a point. Pickford's last minute save versus Southampton from Vestergaard. If that was Pope or Henderson, they would be getting loads of praise from social media, but Pickford doesn't.
Exactly. The agenda, mate. Same with the Richarlison agenda. They just,
they're biased, aren't they?
Absolutely.
So I just want to say big thank you for everyone who's joining. I wish I could read all these comments, but we won't have enough time, unfortunately. But make sure you tune in for another live stream. Hopefully, I'll go on Cam's stream Monday, so make sure you tune into that also. So thank you, everyone, for tuning in. Thank you, everyone. Make sure you like, comment, share, and subscribe to our channel. It's been popping off recently. We've got like 262 subs or something, which is amazing. We've been growing. I don't know how many subs. I was on your channel when I made my debut on your channel. It's been amazing. Just want to say big thank you to everyone. Big thank you to Cameron, who's came on from the Mighty Blues.
Yeah, thank you very much for having me, mate. Really enjoyed it again, being another excellent stream. Keep up the fantastic work. You're doing excellent work on the channel. I absolutely love it. Love getting involved in the comments of the streams as well. So keep it up. Don't forget to like and subscribe as well if you haven't already. And follow Everton now on all of the socials. And like I said, just keep up the great work, mate. It's a fantastic channel you've got going here.
Cheers, Cam. So we'll wrap it up there. Cheers everyone for joining. And we'll leave it there. Up the toffees. Hopefully we'll get the free